Hey, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
How's life? Good?
All good. Yeah, how about you?
Life's real good. Yeah, no
Right,
complaints.
boy.
Yeah, I got beat up from COVID a little bit and had bronchitis in December, and now I've just lost 22 pounds after eating good and putting away McDonald's. So so I feel really really good, but I never thought I'd ever say that I eat salads for lunch, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I appreciate you hopping on. About a month ago, I just started hitting up trainers from Rockford. There's a lot. Obviously, David Brown's a kid that played at Hononegah back in the day, and
Yeah,
JD Danforth, Danny McClarty, obviously, Gene Houston, Jerry Goldsmith, a bunch of guys do training in Rockford, and I do Rockford Elite Basketball, and I started to hit them up and kind of tell their story. So parents always hit us up and they say, "Hey, can you do training?" And I'm like, "Well, we're more of a team program that runs camp, so we don't do the individual breakdowns." So,
so
um,
you just refer your players to
right.
the trainers. Yeah, okay.
So
Got it.
it works really well. I mean, there's guys that obviously you probably know these guys, but like Billy Lewis and Jonathan Snyderman,
Yeah,
those guys are awesome. They do individual training. They did a bunch of it with a program together for a lot of years, but now they're just team coaches because they're principals.
yeah,
Jonathan's at Dakota and Billy's the principal at Belvedere. So the guys that have done individual training in the past now have other obligations outside of coaching their kids in our program.
yeah, yeah. Good,
So
good. Yeah,
it's really easy to refer them. But
nice,
um,
nice.
yeah, so I've just kind of expanded it and started hitting up people and hitting up coaches, hitting up former players from the area, hitting up current college players, some college prospects, etc. So it's kind of been all over the map.
Good,
Um,
man. Good. That's good. That's good to know what's going on.
Yeah, and it helped me going from stir crazy during COVID for that last month, so that was good.
All right.
So I wanted to reach out to you. Obviously over through the years, just here and there, you've always been awesome to me. I appreciate that. I know last year when I saw you, or I guess a couple years ago now, I saw you down in St. Louis, and you took time out to talk to my kid and take some pictures with you and a player that now plays at Villanova. And I appreciate those types of things, and you've always been good to people. So I wanted to tell your story a little bit.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, that's good. Thanks for reaching out. No,
You
it's
bet.
good. It's my pleasure. My pleasure to be on with you.
So take everybody back to the either the young kids at Hononegah or the kids that see in the Register Star. That who was Ryan Hoover when he scored 26.1 points per game in 1992, and then what obviously led you to the Notre Dame. Tell us about your Hononegah career, your coaches, etc.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was just a young kid like yourself, just chasing a dream and just loving the game of basketball. I played all sports, baseball, football, golf, soccer, growing up. But basketball was my main love. And my dad was a coach at Dakota, growing up, so I was always in the gym.
Sure.
And we were there. I was my first grade year through eighth grade year, so I was just always around the game, and I started to get better and had a lot of opportunities to compete in free throw contests and league ball, at the YMCA or whatever, and just got better and better and started to love it. And mainly around shooting. Like shooting was the thing that I loved to see the ball go through the hoop, right? Like
Yeah.
it was the ultimate thing. Um, and so I think I just became obsessed with being like putting the ball through the hoop, like
Sure.
time after time, and how to do that and build good habits right around that. So that's how it started. And then when I got to Hononegah my freshman year, just made some real quality friends, and they had a good coaching staff there, and just good people around, the program, and so really enjoyed my time there. We had some good rivalries, obviously, with Boylan was the main one at the time.
Sure.
But there were some other good teams. Auburn was good. Belvedere was good. Freeport had some good teams and good players across the board. Like I don't want to leave anybody out. Harlem had some good players. Carlos Kraut and Chris Thomas.
Sure. Yeah.
And so yeah, there was some good battles, Johnny Hernandez and Lee Lampley
Yep.
and Darrell Banks and you name it. Um, and you know, you always when you start naming names, you're going to leave somebody out. But those were the ones that you know just started to drive you, and you just had to raise your level, you know. And in high school, you know, there was a couple key matchups that you knew you had to get up for, and then as you raise your level there, then you move on to the college game, and then it's like
Yep.
it's not just you know one or two matchups throughout the year, it's every single night in and night out, you know. So you just had to sharpen, you know, and as you raise the level, you know how it goes. You just have to keep focusing in and relying on good coaching. And I think my main thing was I wanted to be a good teammate. I wanted to make my team better and make my
Yeah.
teammates better. And those are the great players that make their team better, not only for their personal achievements but for the overall team.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the things that obviously everybody in Rockford continually tries to do is make recruiting better because there's a lot of tough players in this conference and sometimes they do get overlooked. Um, Out of Hananiga back in the day, 1992, AAU probably wasn't as prominent, but what took you to Notre Dame? Who else was recruiting you? How did you get those opportunities? Was it through AAU or you know what happened that led you to Notre Dame?
So Reggie Biffle had a team that kind of was some area all stars, so to speak, and we got a little bit of exposure like into the Chicago and the suburb areas, but it was mostly just Rockford area. Um, and we qualified for a national tournament. We never played in it, but I think that was kind of my first exposure to like outside the Dakota, Freeport, Rockford area. It started to expand a little bit, so my world got a little bit bigger. And then I think the first time I got recognized was in the Prairie State games,
Oh, sure.
um, and so that kind of put me on the scene. And my first time that I can remember was I was getting recruited by Northern Illinois and some kind of some smaller schools in Wisconsin, and then I was a sophomore on the Prairie State team with Brian Hansen, with
Hmm.
Aaron Jarrett was with us, and then we had Howard Nathan from Peoria and
Sure.
Smith Ford and um, Red O'Sheimer from Belvedere. We had a good team, and we went down to Champaign for the state um, qualifications, and we were playing against the Windy City team. Juwan Howard was on that team. There were some other high level athletes, and I remember we were down 4 at the end of the game. They called my number, and I hit a 3-pointer and pulled Juwan Howard into me to try to draw the foul to get a 4-point play because it was our
Nice.
only hope. And as I did it, I fell right in the lap of Steve Fisher, ironically. So I,
Sure.
I think that was kind of my entrance, so to speak, onto the scene as Juwan Howard standing over top of me. I'm on Steve Fisher's lap, and they didn't call the foul, but they both laughed at the fact that I at least tried and gave it my best effort to draw the foul. So
Right.
that was kind of the thing where I like the point where I felt like I not arrived, but that I felt the confidence that I
Sure.
was at the next level. And from there, it kind of picked up. And I think Northern Illinois at the time was they were a little upset because now some other people were seeing what they thought they had kind of tucked away in Northern Illinois. Um, and so it kind of went from there. And then I think we played in the Morris Shootout. I think I got exposure there. That's kind of where Notre Dame came onto the scene. I was really interested in Big Ten. I wanted to play in the Big Ten.
Yep.
Iowa was recruiting me with Tom Davis and Lou Henson at Illinois. I liked the Illini. I grew up an Illinois fan, and there was some other Wisconsin was recruiting me, Indiana, and then the other schools that were involved were Marquette, um, Stanford. I really liked Stanford. Mike Montgomery was the coach out there, and I ended up landing on Notre Dame. It was the right fit, and
Sure.
loved Coach McLeod and Fran McCaffrey, who was the assistant at the
Yep.
time, who's now at Iowa,
Yep.
and just fell in love with that coaching staff, the campus, the university, the education, and the Notre Dame family. That I didn't really fall in love with. My parents did, and
Sure.
years later, I recognized what the Notre Dame family meant.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Fran McCaffrey. They're certainly fun to watch, and I think a Ryan Hoover would probably fit in real well. What do you think of Bohannon?
Yeah, he'd been kind of up and down and inconsistent, but that's the life of a shooter, man. You gotta take some chances. You gotta be a little bit crazy with some of the the shots you take. And if you have a coach and you have a team that believes in you and you practice those shots, then it's going to happen. And they live and die. They've lived a lot from the 3-point line, and sometimes they die once in a while, but that's part of the game. And I think Fran gives those guys, you can tell, a lot of confidence. He's an intense coach.
Sure.
He coaches his players hard, but he believes in them and he fights for them. And I I recognize in Fran a lot of what's in me in terms of the intensity and the tenacity that I approach the game with, and the focus. And so that was a big part of what drew me to Notre Dame, outside of the education and the mystique around the university.
Right, absolutely. So leaving or stepping away from Notre Dame, you had I don't know if it was almost a 20-year career. Was it all in Italy? Did you have the opportunity to aspirations, obviously, to play in the league? But talk to us a little bit about just maybe your pro career opportunities in the NBA, playing in Italy for 18, 20 years. How did you land in Italy? What were your opportunities possibly in the pros or go elsewhere?
Yeah, so I felt like I was good enough. I just needed the right situation.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to be a standout guy in a training camp, but I felt like in the right spot I could really thrive. And I did get an opportunity with the Knicks right out of college.
oh sure.
I was in summer camp with them. They had just signed Allen Houston and Chris Childs, and they kind of needed a complimentary combo guard, which
Okay.
fit me perfect. And so I had the opportunity to go in there. I tore my ankle up the first night. I came down on a guy's foot, and it didn't last very long. And
Sure.
they ended up signing Scott Brooks in that spot. So, I felt like that was a missed opportunity. But now that I look back on it, it was a huge blessing in disguise, because I don't know where I'd be if I would have got all that money and fame and stepped right into it. I don't think I was ready for it. I didn't know the game that well. I knew how to hunt my own shots, but I didn't know how to make my team better.
Sure.
In college, we were fairly mediocre,
Yeah.
and it left a bad taste in my mouth. So entering into the pro game, I felt like I had a lot to learn, and I wasn't quite ready for it.
Sure.
But anyway, I was disappointed. So I went the minor league route. I ended up then getting cut by the Sioux Falls Sky Force. I thought I had a good chance to play in the CBA. They didn't think I was good enough for that, and so then I was like, well, what now? What else is there? If you get cut
Sure.
by the CBA, what else is there? And I found out there was a league called the IBA, which is the International Basketball
Yep.
Association. So I had a choice to make if I was going to use my education or if I was going to continue to play. And I got an opportunity in Minot, North Dakota, in the winter of '96 with the Magic City Snow Bears. Um,
Gotcha.
and so a guy by the name of Art Ross was the coach. I played with Kenyon Murray, whose son is now at Iowa.
Yeah. Yep.
Played with some other great players. John L. Sloan played at UIC. Calvin Rayford played at Kansas, and we had a blast. Chris Westlake was actually out there when I first went out there, and he ended up transitioning out of that. I don't think the minor leagues was for him at the time. he was a great player, but it
Yeah.
just it takes a different mentality. And I don't know if I was ready for it, but it was either that or go get a job. And
Yeah.
so I was ready to keep playing, and I was hungry. And so then I played, like, so I had a series of various stints in the minor leagues. So I went from the IBA to the USBL to the CBA to the back to the USBL to the IBA again,
Wow.
and then I went to the ABA, and that's kind of where I had a breakout in Indiana, the Indiana Legends, it was called, in the
Yeah.
ABA
Yep.
in 2000. And I had a real good season there. Played with Jeff Norgard, played with
Yeah.
Deron Hayes, whose son just got drafted by the Pistons. Um, I played with Paul Grant, Teray Bragg. There was just some really good college players, Tremaine Wingfield, Kaliko Bowie. And so that was kind of when I made another step. But along the way, I played for the Rockford Lightning,
Yeah.
played a season and a half with them, and really grew my game. And I think the kind of the tipping point there, one of the breakthroughs I had was when Darrell Walker got called up to the Wizards that year, and Rick Mahorn came in and took over,
Yeah.
and kind of gave me a new perspective. And I never would have thought that a guy like Rick Mahorn, the Bad Boys, who I hated growing up because I was a Bulls fan,
Yeah.
would have taught me how to approach the game, and how to run a team, and how to defensively set your teammates up for success, and how to, really be the coach out on the court. But ironically, that was the guy that kind of took me aside when I had kind of hit the bottom with Darrell Walker, and so he kind of turned things around. And then the next year I played in the ABA. I went to Venezuela from there, and then that's when I went to Italy in 2001. So played 13 years there.
Okay.
Found my second year in Italy, I was part of the second league championship team. So I'd kind of built a reputation about being a champion, being a winner,
Yeah.
and I knew how to play a team game, and they appreciated that there. And of course I could shoot the ball. That was my main strength, and I could run the pick and roll, and I was a good teammate. And those three things kind of led to more and more opportunities year after year. So I'd sign a 1-year contract year after
Sure.
year, improve myself, again, which is a good way to do it. And it just kept me hungry. I kept, summer after summer, I'd come home and build on the year before. I'd work on something new to, kind of hone in on my skills, and really refresh my body,
Sure.
mentally, physically, spiritually, that I would get ready for the next opportunity and be prepared when the next offer came. And I think that was the main thing as being a pro, was I learned how to take care of my body and know when to be ready for training camp. And I think that's the mistake a lot of players make, whether it's the college game or whether it's the pro game. If you get the chance to play after college, or even high school when you're playing AAU, that you're always wanting the next opportunity, and you're wanting to get noticed, you're wanting the scholarship, you're wanting the next contract, whatever it is. But you got to approach it day by day and not
Yeah.
be looking too far ahead. And I think I had coaches, I had my parents, I had mentors along the way that kind of kept my mental approach where it needed to be, to focus on what I can control,
Yeah.
leave the rest up to God, and to be able to put the faith in Him to be able to have those opportunities,
Sure.
but me prepare like it depended on me.
Yeah.
So that, I think that was kind of that balance of faith and drive and hustle and whatever you want to call it, that kind of came together. And year after year, I would just kind of like hone in on that and continue to improve on the approach with that.
Sure. Going back just a little bit, you had mentioned Chris Westlake. I had, pretty good friends with Chris, and um, I had talked to him a few years ago, and I write some blog posts just for our basketball thing, and I'll have to send you the blog post I wrote about Chris
Oh
West.
yeah, I'd love to see that. Yeah.
Um, faith, everything involved in what Dick Bennett preaches. I'll share that with you. I sat across with him at Portillo's probably, oh boy, I don't know, 3-4 years ago now for about 2 hours, and he was
Nice.
he was just chatting, and I loved every minute of it. And
Is he still around Rockford area?
Chris is around Rockford. Yeah, he's married. I don't think he has any children yet, but he might. There's a big trucking company right between Rockford and Freeport there and the Winnebago strip.
Okay.
I think he does sales, and they're really involved in the church. So when you
Yeah.
have Faith and Chris Westlake, that makes a lot of sense. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, playing in Italy and going through, I guess multiple teams and multiple things to kind of find your niche. Um, can you just kind of explain maybe what you learned during that time or what you learned from basketball overseas that maybe you're bringing to the program that you're with now in St. Louis? What maybe American basketball is missing that you're trying to implement just a little bit, or
Yeah.
what that program's all about?
Yeah. No, I'm in Kansas City, but
Oh, I'm sorry. I said
they're
St.
kind of
Louis.
the same.
Yep.
But the Kansas City barbecue is way better than St. Louis barbecue.
I think I said St. Louis earlier too, and I meant Kansas
All right.
City.
That's all right. No, I just wanted
Yeah.
to clear that up. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing with that game is I just kind of learned with each experience, like what my role was and
Yep.
then where it fit. I knew I could always shoot. I could always rely on that. And I learned how to play the game that they wanted, you know,
Sure.
and whether that meant, a little bit more theatrics with the refs and how the international,
Oh yeah.
you can get to, but you kind of have to adapt to it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Like if you go in with the mentality, I'm just going to do my thing and not worry about that crap, it doesn't work, like the travelings, the little things, the little intricacies of the game, I had to adapt. So year after year, it was just, constantly make those adaptations to what my role was on that specific team.
Sure.
And then again, like make my team better. Like that, I just kind of simplified it. Shoot the ball well, know your role,
Yep.
be a good teammate, don't be an asshole,
Yep.
and make your teammates better, make your team better.
Sure.
And so year after year, I just kind of like tried to keep it simple. Like I knew I didn't have to go in and average 25 a game because that's not what we needed. I was usually a complimentary player. There
Sure.
was a couple teams I was on where I was relied on to score more, but like you need to you like players need to understand like what their role is, make sure the coach is on the same page with that,
Yep.
and your teammates too, and know their roles. And I think that's like just knowing your surroundings and knowing where you fit in
Sure.
is really where I think I grew the most. And each opportunity, like I said, you have to adapt to the situation.
Sure. I know you do a lot of basketball training in Kansas City. What does the next 10 years look like for Ryan Hoover in regards to basketball?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I love what I'm doing right now. I got a job that has nothing to do with basketball, but it allows me to have the flexibility to coach my own kids. I have
Sure.
two daughters that play, a sixth grader and a third grader, and I have a 3-year-old son who I believe will probably get into the game. I don't know,
Yeah.
and so I want to really put in the time and attention to them and
Yep.
helping them develop. But I do have some time where I'm working with KC Run GMC, which is
Yep.
a high level AAU team, Under Armour affiliated team. And I've really loved working with that staff. LJ Goolsby is the director, and Billy Thomas, Tyrone Davis. We have a lot of former players that played in the program that were former college or pro players that
Sure.
just love the staff, the way we care for the players and their families, and just helping them reach their next steps, and helping them approach the game with an overall mindset with a holistic development in mind and developing their mind, body, and spirit. So
Yeah,
they're prepared for whatever, if there's injuries, if there's roadblocks, if there's detours, if there's, trouble on social media or all that stuff. We really like to get to the root of who they are, so
sure.
they understand who they are and what they're going after, why they're going after it, and then help them chase it down, help them go after that dream. And so I think that's what I love doing. I think that's at the heart of who I am.
Yep,
I made it. My career's over, and I have no problem with it. I have no regrets. And now it's about helping other people, but not only in basketball, in the business world too.
yep,
Helping guys that are maybe towards the end of their career, or retired and kind of in a transition or a different season of life, whether it's a relationship struggle or a parenting or whatever it is. um, I love to put myself in those situations where I can help others, go after their dreams and be a part of their development. So I've been able to do that with Run GMC. I'm also
sure.
involved with a program called Living the Dream, which is that the gym where we practice with the guys when you came. Well, we were at Shot Tracker for part of it, but
Oh,
we
sure.
also went to another gym where it's uh it's a faith-based organization, and that's what my daughters play in, and so
Sure.
I help with that program as well. And then the other organization I'm involved with as an advisor on the board of directors is called Basketball Club International, which
Yep.
is it's a player-to-player movement in terms of, again, it's personal development and life skills, after the game or as you're in your career or approaching the end of your career. So we've had some big movements over the last couple of years with that organization. So there's just a lot of different involvement at different levels of the game that I want to be in those spots and to be able to help other individuals and teams pursue those dreams.
That's outstanding. That last organization that you mentioned, I didn't catch the name of it because of my ADD for a quick second, but um, give that name to me again. Is that a national organization? Is that something that has like is in different cities, or is that just Kansas City based? Sounds
Yeah, it's worldwide. It's called Basketball Club International, BCI.
okay.
And within the BCI umbrella, we have a smaller group called Rewire,
Okay.
the Rewire group. And so there's a leadership team. We're actually having a conference call tomorrow, and I'm on that with eight other guys, and the president is Kathy Sherman,
Sure.
who's the widow of Sharm Sherman, who coached at Iowa, a longtime athletes in action guy. Um, and they founded the organization in 2004. I was an auxiliary player with them, and then when I retired, I joined the board. But we're doing some incredible things, empowering players to do their thing in their own communities and in their, the programs like you do,
Sure.
just to be involved with other organizations that are equipping and engaging with our youth development programs. And so it's a player to player organization that we have 3 ways to get involved in that. But yeah, we can talk more about that at another time, but
Sure.
or you can check it out. But those are kind of some of the avenues that I'm able to express my passion, my love for the game of basketball, and what it's done for me and my life and the path that I've been on, to give back to others that are on that road as well, or younger players that are at the level where they're looking to make their next developments on their path.
That's awesome. So, just a quick story. Every day, I drop off my kids at school. Obviously they get out of the car, and I tell them that they have one job, and that's to make somebody else's life better. Um,
Love it.
so, doing that through basketball through a bunch of years, I made some shirts that says "Make somebody else's life better through basketball." And I want to send you a shirt, so make sure that you text me your number and your address, and I'd love to send you a shirt. Make sure you send me that t-shirt size.
Yeah.
And obviously everything that you're saying and doing is obviously spreading that message. So it makes a lot of sense to me. And as you speak, I think that's why players jump into coaching and we just kind of stick around through basketball. So I'd be happy to share that with you. I printed off about 24 of them and I've been starting to shoot them off now that I've got them printed. So um,
Excellent.
I'll,
Excellent.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll shoot that your way. That's my only ask, I guess. But having said that, I just want to kind of finish on just one quick thought of a few months ago, within this last year of COVID, the Rockford Register Star, which is a local newspaper, put together the top 15 players in the last 75 years. Um, and it threw Ryan Hoover in there at number 7. Off the cuff, I just kind of wanted to get your initial thoughts on being number 7.
I mean, what an honor that was, man, to be considered with the players that were on that list and the players that weren't on that llist. there
Sure.
was
Oh
there was
yeah, there's a lot.
some great players that weren't on the list. So I'm totally humbled by that
Yep.
that they thought of me to be on that list. Whether I deserve to be, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't that great of a player, but I felt like I did my thing. I respected the game. I made others better, and I think that's the ultimate as a player. If you
Yeah.
feel like you've left your mark, and those relationships that go on, through the game of those, the players that you played with or played against, the respect that we have for each other and for the game. And so again, I was totally humbled by that, and it was a cool thing that they did, because
Yeah.
my dad still lives in Rockton, and so he would
Sure.
be keeping me up to date. And there was kind of like they would get ahead of it on Facebook or social
Oh,
media or
sure. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And my dad doesn't do social media, so he'd be like, "Oh heck, man, what's going on? I'm falling behind here. What's going on?" But um, anyway, there was another Dakota guy on the list, Alan Rayhorn,
Yeah. Absolutely.
who my dad was in the same class with his mom at Dakota
Yep.
when they were there years ago. So and then obviously one of our best, Fred Van Vliet,
Yeah.
the best in,
Yep.
in on the list. Obviously is the present player who's having a heck of a run and a heck of a career wherever he's played. I mean, talk about a winner and making his teammates better.
Sure. No
he's
question.
he's he's the poster child of that. And just the Rockford area, I feel like it's really expanding. You're a part of that, and I really love the what you guys are doing, and the way that it unifies. Like we need that right now in our country, in our world. We
Yeah.
need unifiers. We need people to unite. And what better way to do it than this
Sure.
beautiful game of basketball that we have? That's so diverse,
Yep.
um, in terms of the players, the coaches, the fans, and so I'm just loving being a part of that here in Kansas City. But I also feel, in my heart that Rockford's a big part of that, and I'll always, that'll always be a piece. So let's stay connected. I
Yeah.
feel like we're brothers in this
Sure.
thing, in the game of basketball. And the names you've mentioned, the Danny McClartys, the
Yep.
Billy Lewises, the Jonathan Schneidermans, there's countless others, the Joe Danforths, the
Yep.
Doc Cornells, the guys that have really elevated the game of basketball in the Rockford area, and it's continuing to thrive when we have guys like Fred Van Vliet representing
No
um,
question.
out there on the national, international scene. So yeah, I'm excited to be a part of it. I play a small part, but I feel like if we have enough in the numbers going in the right direction, we can be a positive force
Sure.
in the city and beyond, and in our world through the game of basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I throw the number 7 at you, I guess the only reason I do that is I know the type of competitor you are. And what's right about this list is everything that you said. But I just want to kind of clarify a little bit in regards to how Michael Jordan approaches the GOAT conversation. And I don't know if you've ever heard his answer on that. Have you?
I don't know.
Okay, so when Michael Jordan's approached with the GOAT conversation, he doesn't compare himself against Kobe or LeBron or anything. He just talks about different eras, right? Obviously in this era, LeBron James is the best player, right? In Michael Jordan's era, he was the best player. When I go through this list, just for conversational purposes, this is a list over the last 75 years. And as you mentioned, Alan Rayhorn from Dakota, I'm very close with Carl Armato. Carl Armato played at Northern Illinois with Alan Rayhorn. And all I hear is how good Alan Rayhorn is. And I don't want to take anything away from Alan Rayhorn. But in my era, I just want to make sure that you're in that top 5. And I just wanted to let you know, because I think it's hard to argue that Fred is number 1. He just flat is. But if I'm going to put my 4, I haven't figured out my 5th yet. I haven't determined it yet. But between Fred and Lee Lampley, who was number 8, and Ryan Hoover, who was number 7, and Danny Jones, who was number 4, those have to be, in my era, the top 4 guys that I'm going to start a team with over the last 25 years. And I only say that because that's my era. And that's not taking anything away from Skip Thorne or Carl Kane or anybody along those lines. But Ryan Hoover certainly in that top 5 when it comes to my last 25 years. So I appreciate watching you, and it's been fun watching your successes, buddy.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. That means a lot. That means a lot. And I know you know the game of basketball, and I know you have a good respect and understanding of it. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I haven't determined my 5th, but there's a laundry list of people out there that I'm gonna have at some point. I'm gonna buckle down and maybe crunch some numbers.
When you come up with it, let me know, man.
Yeah, I absolutely will. But I got my 4, and those are locked.
All right. Yeah, that's a solid 4. I'd love to play some people with that 4.
I think you guys would do all right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, Ryan, I appreciate everything. And if you ever need anything, hit me up in the Rockford area. Always glad to help. I appreciate your time. And
You
you
too,
are awesome.
Jason.
Awesome.
Yeah, you too, man. Yeah, if you're back down in KC once things open back up, or anytime, just reach out. We got plenty of barbecue. We got a pretty good football team. We got a pretty decent. Our baseball team's okay, but
Sure.
yeah. So yeah, hit me up. And you got my numbers. You got you got my text and email and all that stuff. So
sounds good, buddy. Thanks so much for your time.
All right. Be blessed.
Likewise.
Later.
Bye now.